Welcome back to episode 2 of the 10 Child Challenge. Just a quick reminder of the rules. We started with 10 children of various ages, and we can only recruit children. Anyone that hits 21 years old will be banished from the colony. The goal of the run is to launch a rocket using only children. For the sake of this run, we'll count anyone who's 13 to 21 as children. Let's start off by trying to get their mood up a little bit. So far, aside from food, mood has been the biggest challenge in this run. They've been really unhappy since they got here. Part of that comes from the frequent starvation. It has been difficult for the children to get outside with the constant threat of predators eating them. The party was fun for everyone, giving them a +8 to their mood. That should help quite a bit, at least for the very near future. There are several dead animals strewn about the map that the children can bring back to the colony to eat. They still haven't been able to stockpile any food, even after being here for over a week. It would be great to at least get a few hundred rice to hold in reserve. Stench has just had a birthday and is our first child to hit 13 years old. This will be her final growth moment, so these are all the traits and passions that she's going to get. Let's go with Jogger, since it's just a great trait, and the other two are miserable choices. As if she experienced an overnight growth spurt, her arms and legs are now far too long to fit in her child's clothing, and none of the buttons will hold any longer. For now, since there are no other clothing options, she's gonna go naked. That must feel incredibly awkward for her to have to be naked around all these other kids, but I guess she's decided that's better than shrunken clothing. Don't worry, Stench, we'll get you new clothing as soon as possible. Let's get some tribal work crafted, so she at least has something to wear. Okay, there we go. Now she's clothed at least. I'm sure she's feeling a bit more comfortable now. The timer has officially started for when Stench is going to have to leave the colony. Luckily it'll be quite a while still until she has to go. At 200% growth rate, she'll be having a birthday every 30 days, so 4 years or 240 days and she has to go. Ugh, when I put it into that context, it doesn't sound very long at all. Let's hope she can get a lot of work done in the colony before she goes. Food poisoning again. It has been and will continue to be non-stop food poisoning until we can get a better cook and a cleaner kitchen. We absolutely need to get one of these children to get a passion in cooking so we can focus on leveling that up. Right now, neither of our cooks have a passion, so the skill gain is incredibly slow. Let's add in some more floor here. It would be nice to try to get this entire room floored in the next couple days. Ayaka is the next to have a growth moment. Looks like she also hit 13 years old and is having her final growth moment. Except with her, these trait choices are all awful. Recluse won't work since there are 10 children. Pessimist is giving a -6 to a mood permanently and is just a terrible choice. Pyromaniac would probably be okay, but Body Pura seems like a more fitting choice for her character. Ayaka grew up on a space station and saw firsthand the effects of over-modification, both in regards to robots and gene modding. Her parents loved to blame the problems within the station on a small faction of body modders. According to them, bionics created creatures more machine than human, and gene modification has been known to warp normal humans into monstrous entities. And don't even try asking her about pigskins. Let's nab this alpaca before the warg eats it all. In the meantime, a group of ibexes have gone berserk. Everyone needs to run back to the walls now, or things are going to get a bit heated. Well, they ran right into the traps. We better get those rebuilt before raiders arrive. I think from now on, we'll have to rebuild the traps with wood. There's plenty of that, and steel's a bit too valuable to continue to rebuild traps with it. Okay, we're going to need quite a bit more building material. Let's get a stonecutters going, and have 1 or 2 of the kids spend their time cutting blocks. 200 of any stone block should work for now. Robots are allowed in this run, and getting the starting robot would be really helpful. Let's get all the children out there, slowly whittling down the HP of this Exostrider. This is going to take a few minutes. Hopefully none of the children break in the meantime. Okay, the Exostrider is destroyed, but we need a research bench to activate the item. Let's get that built next. Only one botch, not too bad. Now the table's ready, let's get that quest. Well, this is really perfect timing. A raider has arrived just as we need a distraction to deal with the mech for the Mechanoid quest. Let's accept the quest and bring down the Tesseron. Perfect, the Tesseron's going right for the raider. Well, it turns out Tesserons are absolutely terrible in melee, and the raider made short work of it. The raider tried starting a fire, but quickly changed its mind when one of the children started taunting them. The raider was fuming and charged head first around the corner, only to be met with a trap to the face. One hit and the raider's dead. That went about as smoothly as anyone could possibly have hoped for. Let's send somebody down to extract the Mechanoid chip. I think we're going to install it on Stench. Una Raymond, also known as Stench, was the child of 2 transhumanists. She certainly would be familiar with the Mechanoids and the workings of low-level robots, making her the perfect candidate to become one herself. It makes me wonder if Ayaka and Stench are going to grow to dislike each other, given the fundamental difference in their worldview. Ayaka has a distaste for body modders, and Stench wants nothing more than to push the boundaries of her human form. At least for now, Stench is in control of a lifter bot. She already gave it a nickname. Clink. Not a bad name. Let's get a bit of light in this main room. It would be nice to start adding in some power, but there's no convenient place to build it yet, except just leaving it outside unprotected. For now, we'll just use wood-fueled torches, until we can sort out some other solution. Mood is absolutely terrible in the colony at the moment. We have a few pawns who are even at the most extreme breakpoint. It's only just now occurring to me that Ayaka has a prosthetic leg, and I just gave her Body Purist. That's about as terrible of a self-inflicted problem as I could have created. The -10 to mood is worse than having just taken Pessimist. I realize now Pyromaniac would have been a better choice, but at least on the bright side, Body Purist does fit the story much better, and I'm enjoying the tension growing between Ayaka and Stench. For now, we're going to have to remove that prosthetic leg and let her stay housebound until we can come up with another option. I suppose there's always biosculptors, or, worst case, healer mech serums. Well, looks like Vladimir has had enough of this place and has snapped. He's just swinging wildly now and hitting anyone he can. There's just no other option but for the children to fight back. Well, that was quick. Vladimir's break is done at least. We need a ritual to try to get everyone's mood back up with a nice boost. Perfect. An unforgettable ritual is exactly what everyone needed right now. That'll hopefully get the worst of the mood levels up a bit. Maybe even get the extreme breaks up to a major or a minor. Next, we need to deal with this prosthetic leg. Ayaka is going to be pissed until that thing is gone. I hate the idea of her walking around with one leg, but I like to imagine she'd at least be using a makeshift crutch to hobble around. It gives her more character. Now that the leg is gone, she should be much happier. What can I say? Body purists are a bit crazy. An alpaca has attacked, and Clink is the only one outside to catch its anger. You better run for it, Clink. At least try to get behind a trap. Otherwise, I don't think you can take on an alpaca all by yourself. We're still painfully low on food, so let's get these alpacas chopped up and in the kitchen for cooking. We've got some starvation going on in the colony at the moment, and I imagine that's why everyone's currently pretty upset about life here. Right now it is massively hot in this room. Hopefully the one passive cooler will be enough to keep them alive, at least until the heat wave is over. Well, we've got another insulting spree on our hands. Only a 63% chance to arrest, but I think we've got no choice but to try anyway. Okay, that failed miserably. Now Ayaka is pissed and swinging at the other children. The rest of the kids have no choice but to team up against her. Luckily that ended without anyone taking any permanent damage. It's really the most we can ask for. It's always such a frightening moment during these berserks when you don't know if someone's going to be maimed or killed. At least everything ended well this time. Ah, this is just fantastic. Immediately following Ayaka's insulting spree, Ryder has snapped and has followed suit. He's throwing insults out in the kitchen. Well, let's try to stop him as well. Now he's gone berserk too. I'm not having very good luck at the moment with these breaks, trying to stop them. At least he's down with no permanent damage. Unfortunately, Ryder got turned into a prisoner during that, so he's going to suffer an extra move penalty. In addition, we're going to have to wait until he can walk to release him, so he can return to normal colonist status. Let's turn the barracks back into a prison one more time to move him back into the barracks and then set him to be released. Everyone's mood continues to suffer as we limp along here. Let's go ahead and change the default medicine so that everyone will automatically set to be Dr. 10 no medicine when they enter the colony. Prisoners and animals too. Well, here's our first good news in a while. Some pigs have joined. Pigs breed really quickly and are easy to keep alive, so let's store them away for now until we can get a pen built for them. Unfortunately for the alpaca, that means we no longer have any use for it, so let's go ahead and slaughter it for food. A pigskin has landed just west of the colony. Let's send the eldest child out to check it out. Definitely not Ayaka. Stench found something unexpected in the pockets of the pigskin. Drugs. 4 go juice and 4 yayo. I'm not sure it's exactly the most responsible thing to bring this back to the colony. We could destroy it, or we could sell it. Using it seems a bit inappropriate though. At least Stench can grab the clothing and use that for now. Thankfully, mood has rebounded and everyone's starting to cheer up a bit. There's even some food in the kitchen ready to be cooked. That's a bit of a rare occurrence in this colony. So far, we haven't really been working on much research, with so many other high priority tasks to finish. Let's fix that by starting with the research basic mech tech. We're going to need the charger to make sure Clink stays up and running. It would also be nice to get a few more robots going, but one thing at a time. We need a few more medical beds in here, so they aren't using their regular resting beds for medical treatment. In addition to that, we also need to build some more lights, since the torch isn't covering the entire room. Ideally, we really should be switching over to electric lighting soon. Let's set up a bit of mining, but we can also go around and start deconstructing any random steel objects that are left on the map as ruins. There's a few tables and sarcophagi to the south that can be torn down and brought back. Oh nice, a bulk goods trader has just arrived, not a moment too soon. There's a ton of stuff piling up in storage, there's not much space left. First of all, let's sell all this leather. I think it would also be wise to sell the go juice. As strong as this stuff is, I just can't bring myself to give it to the children. That's a bit too much even for me. In return, let's grab all the wood and the 2 ducks. Having ducks laying eggs would be a huge help to this food supply. We already needed a pen for the pigs, but now that we have ducks, this makes the matter more urgent. They won't be able to lay eggs until we get this built. For now, we can make a relatively small pen just to get started, but soon we'll need enough room for several ducks and a few pigs. Alright, that should work for now. Okay, the pen is built. Let's get the animals moved in. Hopefully the pigs and the ducks will be happy in here for now. The small pen won't be able to handle a larger population, but we can increase it as we go. The first building is just about entirely finished. And just in time for that, some manhunting animals have come to say hello. Lynx are definitely not the animals that children want to be messing with, so let's all hide inside for now. Clink made a very unwise decision and tried to go outside while the lynx were running back and forth. It received the order to halt, but it was too late, and it opened the door just in time for a lynx to sprint inside. The children really had no choice but to fight. Luckily, in their hail of tiny little fists, it was enough to put the thing down. The Haulerbot took quite a bit of damage from the lynx and is in need of repair. Unfortunately, that means that it'll be out of energy and won't be able to work anytime soon. During the lynx brawl, Ayaka ended up getting bit right in the neck. I cannot imagine a worse place to get bit by a Scaria-infected lynx. She lost a lot of blood, but now that is the least of her concerns since the wound has become infected. Honestly, it seems pretty obvious now that a bite from a Scaria lynx would cause an infection, but sometimes you get lucky. This is not one of those times. Stench is the only halfway decent doctor in the colony, and her skills are not stellar. She's gonna have to try her best and use the best medicine we have. Otherwise, Ayaka is not long for this world. At least that's a fantastic 10 to start us off. A day has passed and Ayaka is making a lot of progress towards becoming immune to the infection. She's already at 49% immunity and the infection has barely broke 30. That first 10 really helped a lot. I want to take a moment to appreciate the fact that Stench and Ayaka are our 2 most diametrically opposed pawns in terms of their own personal beliefs. Stench is a body modder and Ayaka is a body purist. Stench believes in the power of science and Ayaka is a bit more of the spiritual. Regardless of these opposing beliefs, Stench has likely saved Ayaka's life. We'll never know whether or not she would have survived without medical intervention, but I highly doubt it. Later that same day, she made it to 74%. At this point, it's starting to seem like the medicine was overkill. We probably could have gotten away with herbal. I wonder what Ayaka's thinking at this point, knowing she owes her life to Stench. And sometimes our questions are immediately answered. Turns out the reality was a bit too much for Ayaka to bear, and she snapped. Again, another insulting spree. This time she's much easier to put down, and the rest of the children stop her in just a few seconds. All it took was a couple hits to the leg, and she's back in bed. Next up, we need to work on tackling the worst mood penalties. The easiest to solve will be learning starvation. We can install a desk for the children to be taught at, and that should solve the majority of the issue. There's still a few more things we'll need, but that should work for now. Food is going to continue to be the primary concern for the colony. Every time I look, the food stockpile is empty and no meals are ready to be eaten. They did manage to bring in a tortoise and a donkey, which will at least keep them alive for a bit. Hopefully it's not too late. At this point, everyone except one colonist is either broken or about to suffer a mental break. I hate to say it, but this might be the worst the mood has been so far in the colony. Then again, it's hard to say because there have been some pretty rough periods of time up until now. We can harvest early and try to bring in any rice that we can, just to keep people from starving. I do think now is a good time to add another rice grow zone into the mix. Luckily the ducks have started laying eggs, so at least that'll help supplement the food supply. At least some of those eggs are going to have to be dedicated to producing more ducks, but most of them will be eaten by the children. Now we can get some new storage added into the barracks. A few new shelves should do the trick. A couple can be for stone blocks, and the other can be for wood and steel. We really need to try to maximize mood from every avenue that we possibly can. If we can get the impressiveness of the barracks up a bit, it'll also increase the impressiveness of the recreation room, giving them twice as much of a mood boost. Getting all the items off the ground and onto shelves will go a long way toward that goal. The wolves keep prowling outside. Although they're quite dangerous, they've been incredibly helpful killing random animals for the children to steal. It's a wonderfully awful irony that Nag grew up in the lap of luxury, but has now found herself in one of the most grueling and demanding roles there is on a RimWorld, a colonial cook. She was on her way to a private tutor when their hovercar was shot down. The last thing she remembered was being dragged from the wreckage and a hood being thrown over her head. After that, she felt intense pain and everything went black. The very next thing she could remember was waking up surrounded by these other children after their ship made an emergency stop, only to break up in the atmosphere during re-entry. And now she's here, cooking small pieces of raw meat and a small bit of rice for herself and 9 other children. To make matters worse, she really hates cooking. It's time to start expanding the pen a bit. Even with the number of animals that we currently have, we won't be able to sustain them with the natural growth alone. There are already a few baby pigs roaming around, so they're quickly outgrowing this small pen. We also need to look towards our next base expansion. This one small building is definitely not going to provide our children with everything they need. It might be nice to get a few bedrooms going for the children with the most difficult to manage moods. Now Stench is taking their turn to go around insulting everyone. I guess it's a cycle of hurt people hurt people. Let's take a look at what insults Stench has been yelling. At first Nag called Stench a crow, and then Stench called Nag a donkey. I don't get it. Crows and donkeys are both awesome animals, so kind of a weird couple of insults. Then Stench called Nag a mega scarab and a toad, which I guess is a little more hurtful. Come to think of it, these are exactly the kind of insults you'd expect from a child. Alright, the pen expansion is ready. Let's get this interior fence deconstructed and give the animals a lot more room to graze. The starting room's looking pretty good. It's just a bit messy at the moment. It needs to be organized, but all in all, I like the layout. Once this floor gets put in, everything should be set and work can fully begin on the second building. For now, let's start working on improving the impressiveness of the room. That'll help a lot toward mood gain. It's starting to become a bit repetitive now, but Ayaka is going on another insulting spree. I'm just about sick of these insulting sprees. At least mood is generally improving, but it's not quite enough yet. So far in the run, aside from starvation, the biggest threat to the colonists have been the colonists themselves. And next up, Vladimir has gone berserk. This time, instead of taking it out on the other children, he's decided to go straight for the nearest wild animal. He's lucky it's a squirrel, not a wolf. His next target after that is a hare. And although these are pretty weak creatures, they're doing massive damage to him. He's already losing more than 200% of his blood volume per day from several different bleeding wounds. And just as they put Vlad down, Guzik has had his 7th birthday, giving him his first growth moment. Nimble and Tough are both very solid options for traits, but since he's already so fragile, let's take Tough to help balance things out a little bit. Happy birthday, Guzik. I don't think the kids do much to celebrate each other's birthdays. Maybe that'll start as the colony becomes a little bit more stable. Or maybe they'll grow to dislike birthdays since it represents each child slowly growing out of their childhood. We'll have to see what happens. Thankfully, Stench was able to quickly tend to all of Vlad's wounds, or that could have been really ugly. We'll give him some time to rest up and heal. Maybe next time don't go punching wild animals. In fact, don't go punching anything, Vlad. Except raiders. That's probably okay. Vlad is the only one of the children that we really don't know much about. The only record that anyone has about him is that he was on the transport shuttle bound for a facility on the Rim. No one knows where he came from or who his parents were. I suppose he probably knows, but he's been very quiet since arriving here and hasn't shared any of the information with any of the other children. He's already back up on his feet, so I guess he got sick of the bed rest already. That's fine, as long as you don't go take any more damage. All of the current construction projects have been finished, so let's get to work setting up the next couple of rooms. And of course our bad luck continues. Just as the new construction is about to begin, the wildlife has attacked again. Some alpacas have gone mad and charged the colony. Probably still upset about what Vlad just did to their friends. Well, another way to look at it is that our luck is actually turning around and food has started to deliver itself. I guess it just depends on how you want to interpret these events. We need to get all of these traps rebuilt as soon as possible. It's frustrating when animals destroy all the traps and then raiders immediately attack. Hopefully we can avoid that this time. Let's even try to add a few traps, just to prepare for the growing threat of the raiders. Whoa, look at the kitchen. I think it's more food than we've had in the entire run so far. Could this possibly be the beginning of the end of our food problems? That would go a long way to helping improve the overall mood of the colony. Combine that with the fact that some art is being made, and we might finally be past the worst of the consistent mental breaks. Poor Clink, still lifeless on the ground. We really need to get research going so we can get basic mech tech finished and build a charger. Unfortunately, at this point, almost no one in the colony can actually research. They're all way too young. That's the end of the second episode of the 10 Child Challenge. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for updates on all future videos. For those of you who made it all the way to the end, please consider checking out my Patreon to help support the creation of more videos like this one. You'll find the link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and see you for the next one.